Welcome to the Barker Podcast Collection.
Welcome to the Not Playing Podcast. My name's Rob Howard, and this week I'm joined by
Iain Bruce and Patrick Kane.
You can contact us on email at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. So, there's been so much news about games and game releases and add-ons to games over the last few weeks that I thought it was worth doing a whole episode about it. Starting off with the announcement of a new Wolfenstein game, The Old Blood, coming on May 5th, which is going to be like a standalone expansion to the New Order, which looks awesome because it's basically you charging around Castle Wolfenstein from the look of it. It's just going to be a 2-part mission, £15 download. Looks great.
Looks absolutely awesome. Can't wait for this one. I was such a massive fan of Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
It made my top 5 last year, which I was surprised about. So, the trailer for The Old Blood, it's got the same sort of crazy humour to the original game, and I'm really looking forward to playing a more traditional Wolfenstein experience, but with that engine and those toys. Definitely. It's going to be... interestingly, that they're bringing it out physically for PS4 and PC, but it's only going to be a digital download on Xbox One. And it's only coming out on the new platform, so that's interesting as well. So without having to worry about 360 and PS3, they might be able to throw a few more visual bells and whistles at us. So we'll have to wait and see. As for other DLC, they dropped some DLC for Dragon Age Inquisition, which, God, I need like a hole in the head right now, having spent 113 hours playing it. They announced it literally 24 hours before it actually went live. It's called the Jaws of Hakon, and it involves a whole new area for the game and another dragon to kill. And I don't know when I'm ever going to get round to it.
Do you think you will ever get round to it, or are you done with that?
I don't know. It just seems like that game's big enough already. This also, I think a lot of people were hoping for a continuation of the storyline, because without giving away any spoilers, the ending of the game ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, and apparently they are going to get to that, but they wanted to do this one first, and just the nature of it, it just seems ever so optional. So I don't know if I will ever get to this one. It's quite pricey as well. It's like 15 quid, I think, or 12 quid for probably undoubtedly a lot of hours play, but I really struggle to think this is going to offer anything above and beyond what the already arguably bloated core game has, so...
Oh, the irony of you calling it bloated when the second one was just... They can't win, can they?
No, I know, but I think if they'd have... I think, like I said before, my problem with Dragon Age was not that it was too big necessarily, it was just that they could have made a smaller game with more interesting stuff happening in each of those zones. As amazing as they were to explore, ultimately all you got out of it narratively was like things to read, and it was like, oh man, like
welcome to gaming.
Yeah.
Go somewhere, read some shit, go somewhere else.
Yeah. Also, Pillars of Eternity, which we'll be talking about very soon, they've also announced that they're working on an expansion. So that's interesting, considering that they already, bulked the game up based on the Kickstarter pledges. It looks like they obviously have additional material or whatever. They're going to be putting some more content out for it, which is good to know. I think they have it planned anyway, that this is only the first in a series of games, so bring it on, I suppose.
Yeah, good for them. Definitely good for them.
Yeah. There's been a couple of delays. Arkham Knight has been delayed again to the 23rd of June, which personally I don't mind, because Witcher 3 probably going to take me weeks to get through, so that's good. It's just, I find it hilarious how all these games have just got pushed further and further back. I have to say, like, it goes to show, like, what this generation of development, it seems like they're maybe not realising quite how much they need to do.
It's great. That's fantastic. Rather than pushing it out, going, we didn't have time to finish it, or finishing it with a day one patch or a patch weeks later after everybody's gone, no, I'm not going to fucking buy from them again. And then everybody will. But it's good. They're taking some responsibility for their actions, which is
I think we have Ubisoft to thank for this, don't we?
Yeah, and the SimCity server crap and all kinds of other rubbish that's happened over the last
and
few
Halo
years.
And all that. Yeah, no, it's been a lot
I'd
of...
rather stuff was delayed and we got, does that mean we'll have to wait for it? Then it's thrown out because some fucking marketing team has said, right, the marketing campaign has got next week on it, get it ready for next week.
Yeah, and I think it's good in a way that they've woken up to the idea that games can be sold all year round and they don't have to hit this certain point in the year, or, well, at least some companies are waking up to that, things missing the autumn and going into February, then going right up into the summer. I mean, loads of people will buy a game on the 23rd of June, I'm sure, because there won't be anything else out. Even if they might be too busy going outside and having fun.
Maybe that's,
stuff.
Cynically, maybe that's why they're doing it. So they're not competing directly or in the same month as other games. And that's okay too. That's fine.
Yeah. So one more delay is Uncharted 4, which everybody thought was going to be coming out before the end of the year, and that's actually been moved to spring 2016 now. So looks like Bloodborne may well be the only reason I want a PS4 this year. Unless we get No Man's Sky. There's no news on that being delayed yet, so we may still get something for PS4.
Just before you do the next story about Hellraid, that story the story that you're about to discuss has a post date of November 20th, 2014. Are we just really late to mention this, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and absolutely, because there just was no big news story about this. I found this by digging, because I'd put this on my Steam wish list, and I was like, that's still not got a release date yet. And so I looked into it and I went on their website, and it actually explained, and it was November 20th, 2014. They basically have decided that, to go back into it, Hellraid was a game we discussed a few months ago on the podcast. It's a co-op hack and slash game where you would go into quite small, limited arenas and hack up things with swords and axes in co-op.
A bit like Bazildon, really.
So they were going to do this as an early access game, and they were going to use that model for development. But based on the feedback they got, they've decided that they're going to reassess the scale of the game and create in their words, a much richer top tier game that will be Techland's next major release after Dying Light.
So they're going to add parkour, right? I would be up for that. A dungeon crawler type game with parkour elements would be excellent. You could go over castles and stuff.
I've got a feeling they might go a bit more open world with it, because I remember when we were discussing this before. Patrick was like, "Oh yeah, like co-op Skyrim, wicked," and I explained that it was not really that kind of open world game. So maybe that's something they're going to be going, because all their other games have been quite open world. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went down that road with this. So totally speculation at this stage, but they've decided that they're not going to be developing this game in the public, and they're going to take it back into a more traditional development cycle and show us what they come up with later down the road.
For them.
Yeah, so yeah, old news, but I just completely missed it, and since it was a game we covered before, I thought I'd just mention that.
Okay. And that's, if anybody missed the mention or non-mention of the title, that's Hellraid by Techland.
Yeah. So, yeah. Talking of games that are early access, or, well, not, I don't know, is it? Or it's crowdfunded, is Star Citizen. And there's nothing really that interesting about this, apart from the fact that you're probably going to need to buy a new hard drive to install the game on, because the initial client is going to be 100 gigabyte.
But it has, I mean, it's had, 200 million in funding. There's a lot of shit in there they have to download, and you have to download and install.
I know, it's like, what is it? How much a gigabyte is that? Like, 1 million?
What?
Because I reckon this game's going to have 100 million in crowdfunding by the time it's out, easily, because people will buy those spaceship pictures.
Wow! Just never going to let that go, are you?
No, never. Not when there's spaceship pictures that cost like 4 figures. They can go to hell. Seriously.
You're like a small puppy tugging on somebody's shoe, quietly leaving a stream of urine behind you.
I know. I just can't help my.
You can't help your hatred. Right? Okay.
I know. Anyway, talking of better spaceship games, Elite Dangerous is going to be coming out on the Xbox One this year. And PS4 later. So I don't think it was any secret that they were going to bring Elite to other platforms. What's cool about this is that it's all going to be part of the same persistent world. So it's going to be completely platform agnostic. I can play on my Xbox One if I ever buy one.
And you fancy playing with a 360 controller or an Xbox controller? Rubbish.
Yeah.
That's not going to bloody work.
Well, you're not really at any significant disadvantage on a console, really, are you? You've got the same number of inputs. Ish.
What, mentally?
Well, I think a keyboard or voice control definitely helps, but
I think it would work. I don't think they'll need to make any compromises with it. And I played it for a while on the controller before my HOTAS arrived during the testing stages last year, and it was playable. It was certainly all right. There were a shit ton of keys, though. They're going to have to add some menus and for stuff and bits. I don't know. Maybe
they can add like some wheels, like some radial wheels or something.
I wonder if it's going to have Morpheus support, because that would be. I think would that work? Do you think?
It could be a challenge, I think, to get it looking like the game actually looks and in VR.
Really? But it works all right in the Rift. Are you saying they're different beasts?
Yeah, I'm saying they're different beasts.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just knowing how hard it can be to get it running well on a PC.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables to take into account.
I'm sure it can look good in mono on a screen. I don't know. If they do it, then I'm proved wrong. But that sounds like a massive challenge to me.
I don't think they're going to have any problem getting the game working on an Xbox on a TV.
I wonder if it also means...
No, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it'll be a problem at all, and I think it would probably look quite good. But VR on top of that, I think might be a little difficult.
They haven't even said when the PS4 version's coming out, so
do you think
it's
they
not
may have got funding from Microsoft and Sony for this, or because those companies will frequently throw money at games they want to have added, like they did for Lionhead and stuff?
Maybe they do have. Frontier do have quite a good relationship with Microsoft, though. That's probably why it's coming out on Xbox first, because they've done quite a few exclusives. Launch games. Zoo Tycoon, I think, was one of theirs. That came out on Microsoft only, I think. So maybe that's something to do with it.
Good luck to him.
Absolutely. The more people that are playing Elite, the better, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, I've put this one in. It's a World of Warcraft thing, and I'm not sure I fully understand how this is working.
I'm not sure your headline is entirely correct.
Well, it's like they've developed. They're looking. The headline of this article is misleading, but they're looking at alternative ways to pay for game time, and it's looking like you're going to be able to buy 30 days of game time with in-game currency, which I'm not sure. To me, if you've got enough in-game currency to pay for game time, surely buying game time with real money is not an issue for you. Maybe, I don't know, unless you're unemployed and only want to play WoW, in which case you can play enough to keep your game time going. Perhaps not enough to eat as well, but it could be fairly self-sustaining, couldn't it, I suppose, if you're playing for like 20 hours a day.
Yeah, yeah.
Is this one for the total addicts?
I don't know. I mean, if you want to play a decent MMO for free, you might as well get Elder Scrolls Online, because that's a decent MMO, and once you've bought it, it's free. So
yeah,
but it's probably free. It's not. It's not free in quotes. Like, if you spend enough time in it, you will have enough money to pay for it next year, next month.
No.
That's not really. Is that free? I don't know.
I'm just thinking the amount of gold you will need to buy one of these WoW tokens that you can exchange for 30 days of game time is going to be a significant amount of gold, I would have thought. And also, does it scale with your level? Because surely...
yeah, I don't know. These are all good questions.
Yeah, 1 million gold to a level 1 character is like...
Is that how much it is?
Impossible.
It's not 1 million gold, is it?
No, I don't know. I don't think they've announced how much it's going to be. But you'd have to... I think it will be... But I reckon... No, they won't scale it. It will just be whatever it is for like a top level character, I'd have thought. Because they're aiming this at hardcore players, I would have thought.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, it's all a bit nebulous. But yeah, just thought we'd point that out, that WoW are investigating other ways to pay, if not to play. Slightly more interesting MMO news is this Crowfall game, which I believe we've covered this one before, and they basically made their Kickstarter. So, how much did they get?
1.5 mil, I think. Is that how?
1.7.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm really interested in this one actually. As you know, I don't really play MMOs. They're not really my cup of tea normally, but this one really kind of stood out a little bit. They're describing it as like a cross between. Well, it's like they're saying it's like Game of Thrones meets EVE Online. So it's like an MMO, but with like a broader overall strategy game going on at the same time. And you're essentially, it's kind of like immortal gods, and you travel from this kind of sort of starting point that I can't remember what they're calling it now. The Eternal Kingdom or something, I think. And you basically go to these dying worlds where they're kind of populated by the undead, and you go there to kind of gather souls, and you're kind of like the executioners of these things. But the thing that's kind of interesting about it is like they're saying that they'll have a server which is kind of like a world, and it'll only be around for like 1 to 3 months as this long strategy game kind of plays out. So the world is kind of like constantly becoming more dangerous. It's got seasons, so it's got the whole season all change, but it also becomes more dangerous. And you basically start off, and it's like you're in the middle of nowhere, and you've got this kind of fog of war, and you've got to gather stuff, you've got to craft stuff, and you've got to build a stronghold. And you can also, kind of these strongholds and things that you build are destructible as well. So you can actually kind of burrow through a massive fortress, or I think you can actually burrow under stuff as well and destroy the world as well as the player built thing. So yeah, I think it's just really interesting. It just seems like a bit of a new slant on the MMO, and that's why I kind of picked my eye. But it's made by Gordon Walton, who worked on like Star Wars Galaxies, the Old Republic, Ultima Online, Sims Online. So he's done quite a few kind of massive MMOs before. So I'm actually quite interested in this, and like as I say, it's not normally my cup of tea.
What do you think, Ian? You play loads of MMOs.
There's a game on Steam called Cue Lift Music while I find out. Reign of something, Reign of Knights, Reign of Chaos, Reign of Shit. Hold on.
Reign of Blood?
No. I'd probably...
Reign of Kings?
Reign of Kings, that's the one. Where I've watched some gameplay stuff, and if I had 15 quid I could throw at it, and more time, and less things to do with my time, I'd probably get it. But it's like Rust.
And if you could remember what it's called.
Yeah. There's a lot of loincloths going on.
Tired? There's no need for that, young man. Or old man, sorry. It's basically Rust in medieval times, where you can build castles and somebody becomes the king, and they are the king of the server. And they can set taxes, so when you chop down wood, you have to pay the king some money for stuff. And that sounds pretty hilarious, but it sounds a bit hilarious in a bad Rust kind of way.
Early Rust hilarity was quite brilliant, though. To be fair.
And that was quite brilliant. But I'm not really sure that's where you'd necessarily want to market a game.
No, I know what you mean.
And this, there's a few videos online of everybody trying to role play knights and stuff.
It's just hilarious,
and all that.
It is hilarious. I can't remember what it's called though.
Yeah, it's and I wonder if it was slightly more MMO and it had slightly more rules, a game like that would be a really, really good thing and really interesting, instead of what looks to be spending weeks crafting something to find somebody hacking through it, or falling through something so you can't get to any gates to let yourself out and starving to death. I did that in Rust a few weeks ago. That's quite embarrassing.
Doesn't Elder Scrolls Online have like a bit of a sort of conquest element to it, where you have like an emperor?
I'm watching a video of it right now.
What, Reign of Kings?
Is basically Rust.
It's medieval Rust.
In the medieval era. That is, and I think that's enough for me, to be honest.
It's a lot of like loincloths and naked men in loincloths.
Yeah, but it has the traditional crafting stuff where you can build armor, you can be a hunter, you can build castles and stuff, and at that point it starts becoming a bit less rusty. And
I like the whole smashing through castles and stuff. Yeah, that's awesome.
But
it's got kind of zombie monsters and stuff as well.
Yeah, the graphics are a bit wonky, but it's procedural, so you got to let them off.
But I only mention that because if Crowfall can do that in a slightly more in a way that is slightly less open to, and produces a ton of stupid YouTube videos that are highly entertaining, then that would be good. I'd probably be up for that.
The amount of gibbage in this Reign of Kings is hilarious. Yes. It's just like loads of tomatoes falling out.
There's some great videos where somebody, when you throw weapons at people, they get stuck in the person. And if you have a very powerful knight and somebody's throwing spears at you, you end up looking like a porcupine because there's like 50 spears stuck in your body.
You look like you've had a rough night, mate.
Oh dear. That's available on Steam, £15. early access, of course, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely early access.
I might be up for it.
But anyway, Crowfall looks pretty cool. Is that going to be early access, or is that just going into Kickstarter land? I suppose there'll be a beta, won't there, or something?
Have they got enough money for Adele to do the soundtrack? I think that's my quota of dad jokes exceeded. Sorry.
Yeah. Alpha 2.
It's a stretch goal, doesn't it?
If you're a gold backer, you get access to Alpha 2. Oh, so beta. Yeah, basically, if you backed it and to get a copy of it, you get access to beta.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess we'll hear more about that very soon. There's a few other things I saw. Convoy. Have you heard of this?
That's cool.
It's like FTL, but Mad Max. So you're kind of bombing around with your cars, going to various waypoints around a map, building your cars up, taking out other people. I like the way the combat looks. It's sort of that same sort of thing with FTL, where it's like real time, but might as well be turn-based sort of thing. It's got a very cool like visual style.
Sorry, for Reign of Blood, you said the graphics looked a bit pony, and then you're raving about this, which is basically from 30 years ago.
I was scratching my head over that one.
But I think there's a like consistency to this.
Okay.
Whereas, I think
if you're watching YouTube videos, though, people may not have the hardware to run this game to its full capacity. But I think my microwave could run this to its full capacity. It doesn't look too graphically intensive.
Oh yeah, your phone from like 5 years ago would have no trouble. But I think there's this is a presentational choice, whereas I think there's a slight.
I know what you're saying, mate. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, no, I just thought I'd give that a shout. That's I think that was a Kickstarter game. They didn't ask for very much money actually, and I don't think they got much, but they got enough to make the game. And I just like games like this that kind of get your brain thinking, filling in the gaps. Mad Max is coming out soon, so I'm excited about things to do with that.
But so is the Mad Max game from Avalanche, who do Just Cause. It's 20 quid on Amazon, by the way, bizarrely, that game.
What?
The Mad Max game. The Avalanche.
Which we've heard nothing about yet.
No, but for 20 quid, I'm fairly sure it's not going to come out at 5 quid.
No, I'm sure. No, I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. I haven't heard anything though. It's like seems to be. I'm sure it's deep in development,
or they're waiting for the movie to come out before they start
hyping
press for it.
Yeah, maybe. Another thing I saw that was pretty interesting was this new Final Fantasy game. Have you guys seen this?
Nope.
Give me a few minutes.
Yeah, honestly, stick it on, and I'm happy to just talk about it for a sec. But basically, it looks like they've gone. The thing about Final Fantasy games is it doesn't matter which one you play because none of them ever carry on unless they're called Final Fantasy 13-2 or whatever. First of all, the graphics on this game, on this Final Fantasy 15, look really quite incredible, and it looks like it takes place. Well, the water looks alright.
Yeah, I mean the water and the world looks great. Yeah. Oh, and it's is that real time combat?
Of it all.
Okay.
Yeah. So it looks like it takes place in a kind of cosy contemporary world, not too dissimilar to our own. They, apart from everyone dresses like a bit of a goth, and they run around with huge fucking swords. But it looks like
burning.
Yeah. But the draw distance on the environments looks really cool, and the combat does look sort of semi real time. It does look a little bit silly, but yeah, essentially
they have to look silly though. All the Final Fantasy games have to be a little bit silly.
Yeah, but like you sort of run around with like a group of 3 other guys who all look a little bit like they're out of a It's like they've tried to rein it in a bit, like to be set in our world or something, but it's still got these huge fucking monsters in it and stuff. Some of the scenes involve you like sneaking around, like not actually taking the monster on directly, although that does look a little scripted. What's the crazy bit is, though, if you get towards the end of this video, is that when you let off one of your special moves, and you essentially summon this fucking god, and it's like this. It's basically like Odin himself, who's like about 200 foot tall. It's at 11 something. He comes down and just basically just destroys everything. 10:30 something.
Oh,
so it looks like he's summoned quite tall Gandalf.
It's basically Gandalf's, just like giant fucking Gandalf. Yeah. So I just find it. I just
particle effects, and you're not coming fast, bitches.
Yeah, you just see the hand, and he like picks you up, and then
he showed you the hand. Yep. It looks awesome. It looks. Is it multiplayer? Is it single player? Is it what co-op?
It'll be single player. No. Final Fantasies always single player.
Apart from the MMO.
Well, not all of them. Some of them are MMOs, but this one will be one of your epic single player.
It does look useful where that Gandalf figure did his shit.
It's just bonkers. It's like the damage meter goes like 9999, like it's game over. It's ridiculous.
It's too much product in the hair, though. I just can't. It does my head in.
But yeah, I just want to point that out because that actually looked pretty decent. 13, nothing about that game really sold me at all. Just all looked a bit too shiny and sci-fi. But I think the fact that they're trying to root this in some level of reality makes those ridiculous moves like really impactful. So just thought it looked pretty cool. There was a trailer for Cliff Bleszinski's new game, Project Blue Streak. It's really just environments.
Doesn't say a lot, does it? Yeah.
I think it's going to be an FPS, some sort of arena-based FPS.
Shooter. Oh, okay.
Of course, yeah. He's got some experience of doing those things. I can't say I'm going to be that interested in it, but he's doing stuff again, so just thought I'd mention that.
It's always good to see a man having a job. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one last game is Rock Band 4. We did have a news story which rumoured that Guitar Hero might be making a comeback. I think we can assume that is definitely happening now because Harmonix have basically called their bluff and announced Rock Band 4. What is good about this, though, is that apparently all of the old stuff, all of the old songs, DLC, the old instruments, apparently that's all going to work with this new game. So I don't know quite how that's going to work, considering moving from a PS3 to a PS4, but apparently they're going to be working with the platform holders to make sure that stuff works.
All just data files, surely.
I just mean the hardware, though. Like the hardware, the plastic instruments, whether they'll work from one console to the next.
Are they just plug in via USB? Never having played it, I'm not sure. Or are they wireless?
I think so, but normally there's some bullshit to make. Like, for example, Xbox 360 controllers won't work with an Xbox One. Like, they made sure that happened because they wanted everyone to buy all that shit again.
Right.
But I think it's going to be in the. I think it's in Harmonix's best interest to make sure that people don't have to buy all of those things again just to buy the new game for their new console.
Piss people off,
definitely. So, yeah, I never really played the Rock Band games. I had Guitar Hero, but I never.
You're living the game, my friend. You're living it.
Oh yeah. I don't need me no Rock Band really. So yeah, and that's all the actual gaming news we have this week. This has been the Not Playing Podcast in partnership with notlistening.co.uk. You can get me on Twitter at Bobby Rocker, BOBIROKA.
I'm at EboGB, which is EBOWGB.
And I'm at Patrick J Kay.
You can contact us on email at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. You can find the show notes for this show at notlistening.co.uk. And if you're listening to us on iTunes, then please do give us a review. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for listening. See ya!
Goodbye, dear listener.